TIFU by destroying the entirety of my family for only $99. Throwaway account. We've all been seeing the recent craze of DNA testing and whatnot, so my dad and I decided to jump in the bandwagon, and we bought 2 from 23andMe. We got our results back a few days ago, and I went into the DNA relative section to check out my matches. At the top it listed my dad as only sharing 29.2% DNA with me, and being predicted to be a half-brother, which is impossible. This didn't make sense to me, since we also shared a paternal haplogroup, and we just look so alike, so he was definitely my father. My cousin also had taken the test a while back, and she shared 24.6% with me, also predicted to be my half-sibling. We are supposed to share around 12%, being first cousins. I couldn't think of a genetic relationship that would explain what I was seeing, and I had doubts in the accuracy of the percentages, so I made this post on r/23andMe, asking for help. Basically, the shared percentages are extremely accurate and highly unlikely to be false. The only realistic explanation for what I was seeing was that my uncle, my cousin's father and my dad's brother, is my father. Reality hit me in the face like a flying bag of bricks. All the dots lined up, and I felt a sense of loss. I sat in my room for an hour just in shock, and then I had a feeling of anger come over me. I needed some fucking answers. Without even thinking, I rushed out of my room and confronted my mother downstairs. My mom is a businesswoman and is often away on business trips. She had no idea my dad and I had done one of these tests since she was away on a trip and just got back. My mother and I never had a traditional relationship. She was always focused on her work and my dad ended up mostly raising me. My irrational self didn't even sugarcoat it. I asked her if she cheated on dad with Uncle David, name changed for OBV reasons. I have never seen the color drain from someone's face so quickly. She looked dumbfounded and then mumbled, "What kind of question is this?" Of course not. I told her everything, the test, percentages, DNA matches, all of it. Shit hit the fan. My mom fell to the ground crying, begging me not to tell dad. I left her there and went back into my room. I called my cousin, now half-sibling, and told her everything. She ended the call screaming, "Dad, now uncle," then came home and stumbled into my room asking what's wrong with mom. I told him everything too. He didn't say anything after calming down. He left the room and I locked the door. For the next few hours, I heard my entire family fall apart outside my door. My parents got into a heated argument and my grandparents rushed over to see what was going on. My aunt-in-law and David showed up shortly later, and I'm pretty sure I heard my dad and David get into some physical fight. Utter chaos. I feel like fucking shit. Like it's not my fault, but I can't help feeling that this is all because of me. If I had spent my fucking birthday money on something else, none of this would have happened, but another part of me is glad to know the truth. I'm too scared to go outside. I don't even know what the outcome was. The only noise I hear in the house now is the occasional sobbing coming from my mother, and I'm sure my dad is out of the house. Fuck my life. TLDR, mom and uncle, both having spouses of their own, fucked, made me, and proceed to not tell anyone. I take a DNA test 19 years later and it all comes crashing down. I've locked myself in my room, and I'm pretty sure my family has ceased to exist outside. Any can plant a seed, very few will stay to raise a strong tree. Please tell your dad you love him, and he is your dad regardless of everything. As a stepchild, this comment really hit home. My step-dad raised me a lot more than my BO ever did. Love makes a family, not always DNA. Call your dad, make it clear you still see him as your father could really help him out. I'd say the dad is the main victim here, with the double betrayal and the fact that his offspring is not truly his. That probably shakes something deeply ingrained by our evolution. As for Op, I totally understand your anger over the lie, but consider the fucked up fact that you wouldn't exist if it hadn't happened /_/. I'm surprised no one here messaged that he could have talked to his dad first. Op behaved like a 19-year-old in pain. I think the only thing he could have done differently was give it the 24-hour rule and speak to his dad privately first. Not giving his dad a heads up, the person he was seemingly closest with, is a big mistake to me. He went in guns blazing and did the scorched earth method on a mother he doesn't really care for. Obviously, this family dynamic has more issues than paternity. I think dad deserved to hear it from son first, then approach mom together. Maybe his dad would have decided to spare him the rage pain and deal with mom. As it stands, hiding in a bedroom isn't particularly mature, and I bet his dad needs his support right now. To quote Yondu, he may have been your father boy, but he wasn't your daddy. Hope you get through this. To also quote Yondu, when I picked you up as a kid, these boys wanted to eat you. They ain't never tasted Terran before. I saved your life. Is it wrong to ask for an update? Very curious how everything turns out. Your dad realizing his isn't your dad but your uncle, grandparents now involved. It's all such a weird situation. Everyone telling Op to reconnect with dad, probably not getting that this dude is gone and a half. Not your fuck up. They were grown adults and knew what they were doing. It's a shit way to find out, and the fallout isn't going to be great, but imagine this coming out later. You know now, and can make plans based on truth. Don't beat yourself up over it. Not your fuck up. They were grown adults and knew what they were doing. I know I'm going to sound like that thin friend stuffing in a bar of chocolate saying I don't really have to watch my weight, but that's how I feel here, not having an invisible sex with people when you could as pass easy. It's easy sober, it's easy drunk, it's easy high. Step 1. Don't kiss people you shouldn't be kissing. Step 2. If you find yourself being kissed by a person you shouldn't be kissing, put your hand on their chest, gently push them away, and tell them thanks, but no. Step 3A. Go home and masturbate. This step is important. Step 3B. If you still feel deeply dissatisfied and unhappy, rethink your life choices. The only person at fault is your mother and uncle. She and him are the ones who cheated and lied. You don't need to feel guilty about exposing their guilt. Also, your real dad is the guy who raised you, not the guy whose genes are more similar. Edit. The uncle is at fault too. His uncle bears no responsibility? Maybe you should call your grandparents and see if you can stay with them a few days until things calm down. Not your fault though. Your mom had to realize that this would come to light eventually. It just happened sooner than she expected. Nah, she probably thought she was going to take that secret to the grave. She deserved to have it come out though. I have some old people advice for you, if you want. Here it is. This may be impossible to imagine right now, but this may end up being the best thing that ever happened to your family, if only because truth has a way of coming out anyway. Finding it out like you did, and inadvertently ripping the lid off of it now, in your youth, prevented anyone from being able to lie their way out of it, which as hard as it may be to imagine right now is everyone's best hope of coming out of this with their relationships and marriages intact, if that's even possible. Including you. It's much harder to take this kind of news at 50 than it is at 19, so you've done yourself a favor as well by getting it over with early. Because of you, your kids don't have to live the lie that you did, and you can be done with this drama in your youth. I know it all seems crazy right now, but you will find the new normal, and it will be okay in the end. There is peace for you in this, though you still have some storms to weather first. Do not let anyone put this on you. Not now, not ever. Including yourself, which may be hardest of all. The fact of the matter is that, if you hadn't gotten the DNA test, someone else in your family might have, even your own children in the future, and ripped open the same can of worms. This situation was not of your making, and you owning it only prevents wounds from healing. Truth is the best disinfectant, and is the only hope of saving these relationships, if they can be saved at all, so don't you dare let anyone put this on you. And if they do, correct them in a way they won't easily forget, because blaming you and or the DNA test is not just a lie, it's outright cruel and evil. Responsibility belongs where it belongs, and it may be up to you to remind others of this in the future. Don't hesitate to do so. By insisting on truth, you will be doing the entire family a service, and bringing the quickest possible end to the drama. Lies only stretch out the agony, and it doesn't matter whose lies they are, so don't own it. Any of it. If you can, in time consider forgiving your mom and dad. Shit happens. It just does. And you don't forgive people, because they deserve forgiveness. Nobody does. You forgive when, and where you can, just because humans make mistakes, you do too, and it's the best way to save relationships. Shit happens. For all you know, it was a drunken one-nighter they've both felt shitty about ever since, and what's happening right now is more than enough punishment, if you think about it. So when you're good and ready, not before, and if it seems right to you, consider forgiving them. As others have said, and I can only reiterate, your now stepdad is blameless in this, and has gotten his entire marriage thrown into chaos overnight. Be there for him, in any way you can. Ditto your half-sister cousin. You won't regret it. Also, unless you want to hear redneck family tree jokes for the next several years from your friends, be very careful who you tell in real life. I know you need support, and people with whom to discuss this, just, be careful. Let it go on Reddit all you like, it doesn't matter, but in real life you can't put this genie back in the bottle. If it gets out, but try to keep a lid on it, until you are ready to talk about it, for your own sake. Finally, I have to tell you as an older person, that this thing has only just started. You have miles to go before this thing winds down, and unseen changes yet to come. But you're gonna be okay, and so are they. Of all the evils in the world, this is one of the lesser ones, and everyone gets to live at the end. As hard as this may be, and I don't underestimate it at all, try to keep it in perspective, because that helps with sanity over the long run. I wish you well. Good luck, kid. As an older guy that has had some crazy revelations come out in my own family, this is the most solid advice in the whole thread.